Hello, everyone. Good day, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you listen to me from. Welcome back to the leonlagrey podcast with another episode. This time, we're going to go over the CPU shortage, which I've been hearing about this lately, and I wanted to bring this topic about. Now, this topic has been talked about for now since of last week too, and this was a topic that's been going on since last week. And if I'm not mistaken, this was back last week on the 28th, 29th, on the CPU shortage and how bad most analysts say that CPU shortage is going to get even bad. And even Intel scrap is turning into gold. Now, we're going to end up talking about why the markets have been going up lately and what has been going on with technology now up on the greens, or as some people will say, up on the blacks recently too, because this is going to be a very good read, and I've had several sources especially explaining about the CPU shortages that's been going on. If you thought the Ramageddon or the RAM shortage was just bad, you guys have another thing coming here on this episode of Leon LaGrey Podcast, episode 265. Let's go ahead and take it away. Okay, everyone. Now to take it away from today's story, I want to go over on the which is CPU shortages. Now, as of last week, this article has been reported back on April 29th, which was just over a week ago. So this is an interesting one because as things have already gone really bad with RAM shortages, or what everyone has called it, the RAM apocalypse, which, I mean, it makes sense because how could anyone get any RAM? And if you thought the RAM prices was even worse, the CPU shortages is so bad. What they've described on Yahoo Finance of today, which here in the article stating even Intel's scrap is turning into gold. So this is written by Rich Dupre, and also with everything going on right now, and currently in the market, Intel going up to 13.96%, which is still good. It's not as high as AMD, and while AMD is a plus 11.44% in the market. And now if you go to the S&Ps and the NASDAQ, you'll see that GPUs, or the market for that right now, it's going exponentially high. And we had seen a bad free fall on the markets over the last 5 years. And now with Intel picking up steam already, which even the markets show and proves that things have picked up steam already too with Intel. And then if you have bought the shares even, let's say, 2 months ago before it rose over $60, I mean, right now the CPU market, it is in a good time high right now too. Now now with AMD, as I'm going over with AMD and checking out with AMD's side, if you have gotten AMD months in advance, like let's say you would have purchased 200. It was 2 months ago would have been like $250 or something like that. Last I've checked. Now it is 46.73% Oh, excuse me. Take that back. Now it's 11.44%. Still, it is a lot higher from the previous month or two. So that is really high on the advanced micro devices or AMD. But this is one thing I'm noticing right there is that whenever there's a crisis looming, I've noticed one thing is that the tech stocks or even the semiconductors go pretty high. Now, we will go about it right now on why this is happening. And I'm not saying this for financial advice, but I am, as I'm looking right now and going over what's been happening, I think this is going to be good for anyone holding onto Intel stocks or AMD stocks. Again, like I'm going to tell you right now, anyone listening, this is not financial advice. And right now, I'm just playing the stock market game because I know Intel will probably go up a lot higher even during the summer. So, or even towards at the end of the month, around May. Because, hey, who knows? Probably before, or even before my birthday hits on May 29th, I'll end up probably buying more stocks. And I'm going to see that portfolio rise, woo, all the way high. So I'm gonna play that game right there. But like I say, no financial advice. You guys can do whatever you want. So don't take this from me. And anyone, if you know anyone that's a financial advisor, good enough for you. So anyways, going on with the story right here. So here is the read. I'm going through Yahoo Finances. Intel is now profitably selling CPUs that would normally be discarded as scrap, boosting yields and spreading fixed manufacturing costs across more revenue generating units as consumer prioritize availability over performance specifications. AMD is similarly facing demanding backlogs in server and AI adjusted workloads. Extreme CPU demand from AI workloads and server fleet refreshes as created a supply shortage where even lower tier chips command full price, allowing Intel to monetize production ineffectiveness that typically presents cost rather than revenue. And then the fourth column here, it says the analyst who called NVIDIA in 2010 just named his top 10 AI stocks. And so this is right here. It's going to be something we're going to expect more of the CPU shortage. But right now, the demand is there because when somebody hears the price going high or during the summer, who knows? This is going to be a signal for anyone to buy before you're not going to be able to make your next CPU purchase, because I do think that CPUs are going to be very scarce, and the time that you think about building your next rig or whatever that may be later on, you're going to probably end up thinking, well, I better get on board with getting a CPU and see where this goes, because I'm not going to be able to afford it by next month if it continues to rise up. So just saying though, guys, surprisingly, even CPUs that would normally be written down as scrap are being shipped to customers willing to accept lower performance just to secure supply. Industry site Tom's Hardware notes Intel has been able to boost yields by selling chips that would previously have been discarded due to falling short of premium specifications. That's not just operational tweak, it's a signal. Let's simply what scrap chips actually means. So let's go and so I'm actually liking this article because it gives you the details of this too. So, and here on the scrap chips, what is it about? So here we are. When Intel manufactures CPUs, each wafer produces a mix of perfect chips and imperfect ones. The best chips become high-end SKUs. The rest are either downgraded, recycled into lower tier products, or historically written off entirely if they fail to meet minimum standards. According to Tom's Hardware, Intel has increasingly found buyers for those lower spec CPUs instead of discarding them. In other words, chips that would have been a cost burden are now being monetized because demand is so tight that customers are willing to compromise. That shift tells investors three important things. Supply is constrained enough that buyers are accepting reduced performance. Pricing power is extending down the product stack, not just at the premium tier. Then third, in the story, in the bottom it says, yield optimization is becoming a revenue lever, not just a cost control measure. That last point is key. Yield improvements are typically about efficiently. Here, they're about survival in a supply-starved market, or as the market effectively frames it. Intel isn't just selling better chips. It's now profitably selling what used to be waste, which is actually pretty good, what Intel is doing. That's the dramatic reversal of normal semiconductor economies, or economics, And so then the lower down on the Google Finance article, it continues on the glance, and it gives you about why it is what it is and why does this matter. And here it goes on down below. At first, selling lower grade CPUs might sound like a downgrade in brand or margins, but in constraint supply environment can actually improve overall economics. And here's why. So here in the article, it continues on below. Every wafer now has higher effective sell-through rates. Fixed manufacturing costs are spread across more revenue-generating units. Lower tier demand absorbs what would otherwise be inventory losses. This is especially relevant for Intel's foundry-heavy model, where utilization rates directly influence profitability. While Intel does not break out scrap conversion revenue, in its SEC filings, its 10K filings consistently empathize that wafer utilization and yield management are key drivers of gross margin volatility. In plain English, when more of each wafer gets sold, even at lower prices, margins stabilize faster than when chips are written off entirely. Intel is essentially turning waste into working capital. That said, this is not a permanent structural advantage. Not only works while demand remains tight enough that customers are flexible on specifications. So that's pretty much the translation, or the gist of it too. And so the catalyst behind the demand surge. Intel isn't operating in isolation here. The CPU shortage reflects broader pressure across the semiconductor ecosystem, where advanced micro devices, or aka AMD, Nasdaq, AMD, and other competitors are also facing demand backlogs in server and AI adjusted workloads. But Intel's situation is uniquely revealing because of its manufacturing scale and product segmentation. It produces a wide range of chips from high-performance server CPUs to lower-end client processors, which means its yield flexibility is more visible than peers with tighter product focus. The key competitive implementation is this. When demand outstrips supply, differentiation temporarily matters less than availability. That creates a short-term advantage for any supplier that can ship something, even if it's not the best something. However, investors should be careful not to overextend that conclusion Cycles like this tend to normalize quickly once capacity catches up or demand cools. And then the key takeaway with this short and going over this last part of this article, in short, the fact that Intel can now sell chips once considered scrap is less about product innovation and more about market imbalance. Then all is said and done. This reflects a CPU market where demand is absorbing nearly all supply tiers. Customers are prioritizing availability over performance, and Intel is monetizing production and ineffectiveness in real time. That is a powerful short-term tailwind for revenue stability, even if it doesn't fundamentally change competitive dynamics. For investors, the takeaway is straightforward. This is not a story about Intel suddenly becoming more effective. It's a story about a market so tight that inefficiency is temporary profitability. But in semiconductor cycles, that kind of environment rarely lasts forever. Profit from it while you can. And so this is interesting because I like how the even discussion goes right there, because we are seeing that moment where this is where Intel's scrapping the CPUs. So this is why I think that Intel it has done a lot better right now, because right now you're seeing a lot of people using older CPUs. It's a smart strategy coming from Intel. And I will say that things have changed, I would say, for the better. And I'm not gonna go out and say Team Blue is now better than Team Red. No, absolutely not. Right? Even though AMD is still hanging in there strong, and who knows where the tide is going to turn. And I do think that most consumers, where now with semiconductors and CPUs have become a lot more expensive now because of everything else with the supply and demand, and then the supply chain that's been happening. Right now, everyone is just watching their wallets, which I get it too, because right now things are already tough out there, especially with the economy right now. Things right now with the stock market, it's still going strong with certain sectors, and like I've said, and these certain sectors are either tech, medical, and even energy, because that is a moment that a lot of people are gonna get into. And look, if you haven't gotten into the stock market right now, things are gonna stay pretty good with the markets, and it's fine, and it's absolutely fine to see where things are going, because even other articles have talked about the AI-driven CPU shortages, and is this gonna save Intel? And I think so too. I think it's gonna save Intel, because right now we are seeing people that are buying affordable CPUs, even if it's not like the highest end CPUs. The current one I've covered in about this recently was Intel Ultra. The Intel Ultra that just came out fairly recently. And so looking at things, where things are going, I do think that some people are going to say, listen, I understand that Intel had an issue even 5 years ago, and I get it too. But if people can look past what happened 5 years ago, that is good, because right now under the new leadership under Lip-Bu Tan, at this point, I do think that the leadership is starting to drift away, and even right now, and he's even Lip-Bu Tan that is running on in Intel right now. I do think that they are making shift and strides to even get things going on a better path, and who knows, even the market for Intel is going to end up becoming much more telling, where it's going to continue to soar up a lot higher, and probably will catch up with the numbers too. Because I'm just going to say this too, because if you aren't in the stock market or holding in on the long term, Look, and I get it. People wants to buy the stocks and hold in for the short term and make their returns back, which I get it too. A lot of people, there's a lot of people that are short term buyers. As I myself, I would say I'm between both because hey, if you want to make a quick buck out of the stock market, sure, do that as well. I think even the markets is even telling right there where things are heading in right now, and a lot of the companies are. If you are not in the semiconductors right now, semiconductors are still profitable. You just gotta find the markets that are out there too. And even though I don't talk about the stock market all that much, but you look at where things are going with the current CPU market. Look, when there's a shortage, it's going to be a boom for the markets. Okay, like first of all, even if you are buying from the big boys, Intel or AMD, they're going to make their money's worth. They're going to make their money somehow, even coming on from a CPU shortage. Now, how bad this is going to go, who knows? I expect that when at some point, I would say around June, and hopefully I'm wrong about this too. If the CPU shortages is or I would say or becomes bad, who knows if that's going to cut off the supply and demand for Intel. But we will see too, because I'm going on other articles like this one on the next platform, which talks about AI-driven CPU shortages, which right there I am going to discuss about it right now, which they've talked about this similarly what Yahoo Finance have said about this too. So it is interesting. So going over on this article coming from Timothy Prickett Morgan. And here it says, if you have a few pallets of data center CPUs sitting in a barn somewhere, and they have a reasonable number of cores and a healthy score of I/O lanes and memory channels, then let me tell you, you can find a buyer for them liquidly split thanks to the Gen AI boom. Intel and AMD are focusing on putting out high core count parts because that is what high-end AI training and interference machines needs. And that is right too, because I know that this is where a lot of the investments are going. And look, as much as people will hate about AI and AI have done this, AI has ruined my jobs, and yada yada yada, so on and so forth too. I don't think there's going to be a huge effect on these big players right there too. And even if you think that AI is going to stop, well, I have to tell you though, I mean, this genie is not going to be back in this bottle, because we know that these companies are going to heavily market and focus on AI. And the AI training that, right now Intel is putting their bets with AI, and AI servers like the one I'm thinking of right now is Aeon Xeon. The Xeon cores, which is pretty much for those cores are more for people that are running on data centers. These are ones that are ones that Intel are putting in out for the data centers right now. And a lot of these companies are relying on not just AMD in general, but or the Xeon processors too on most of these data centers. Because you know what, if you're working on a big data center, I mean, again, I never worked in front of data centers in my life, but I can imagine these Xeon or the XPUs or the CPUs are running these things. Who knows? I can tell that these are quite powerful, even in these big data centers too. Plus, if you are running a massive amount of energy in these data centers, I mean, you do need to have something powerful to have things sent back and forth, and that's why I'm thinking right now, the market is showing that there's still a need for these processors and these semiconductors. Excuse me. Still, It's it's going to be a supply and demand issue down the road that nobody have ever expect. And the CPU market is going to be something that coming down forth with everything else. This is going to be something that it's going to make investors happy, but it's not going to make the consumers happy. Because even though as a hobbyist myself, I love building computers. But right now, let's put it this way. The numbers do not lie. The numbers are going to even say one thing too. But if the market is saying that it's good for business, then it's going to sell to data centers and to big tech businesses because that's where the money is at. Now, consumers, there's still going to be a market for consumers. I'm still going to buy Intel. I'm still going to buy AMD to see what's going to work for me and what's going to benefit me for my build. So that's no problem right there too. Because I do think that there's still going to be a market for both of these players out there. And going over in detail on the article. More importantly, for Intel, as we move from a market focus on AI marketing, AI training, to one concern overwhelmingly with AI interference. In production, the ratio for GPUs and XPUs to CPUs is actually decreasing. According to Intel, not increasing. And that means CPU content per AI system is on the rise at the same time of that the number of AI systems and the exaggerated amount of investment in them is also on the rise. It's a double thank you, mommy. Instead of the double whammy bammy that Intel has lived through the past few years, its foundry slipped some process cogs, and therefore its server CPU designs fell behind rival x86 CPU supplier AMD. So I'm going to end on this note right there because now I wanted to put it this way too. Right now, everything that we are seeing with the CPU markets, I do think things are going to get very scarce. And if you are a consumer and that's looking for the next build, right now, it's going to be a good time to start preparing for what's going to come for the shortage or for this supply and demand. Because most companies now, they're looking to buy so much CPUs because if you thought the RAM, if you thought that the RAM issue or the RAM apocalypse was big of an issue right now, which is still is an issue now, I would say get your CPUs and get it while it's hot. And if you could afford it, good. Now, if you still have a good running computer that is still running in well, even in the year of our Lord, then make sure you dust that bad boy and keep it well maintained. All I'm going to say is this business is still going to do really well for the corporate and for data centers. Anyways, I'm going to leave it to leave this story just like that and just go and stop right here. Tell me what you guys think about this because I think that Intel is going to continue to lead into the charge, especially in the CPU market, and even most investors are going to look up and say, "This is it." I think it's going to be even one semiconductor. It'll be in my portfolio, and I believe so as well. Like I said before, previously, and numerous of times, not investment advice, but something to consider because things are when the demand is so strong, that most of these AI data centers are going to snag it all up. They're going to even pick up these CPUs. And trust me, when I say this, it's going to happen. It is. Anyways, guys, keeping it down to the close. Not going to run my mouth too much. This is Leon signing out. And I hope you enjoyed this episode because I am going to be posting up this more episodes more on the regular Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You have a good rest of the day or evening, wherever you're listening to me on. Take care and ciao.